today is Steve Estrada. He is the Wellness Director at Elevé Health. And Steve, welcome to the Rest and Recovery Podcast.
Thank you, Scott. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to digging into a variety of things on what you guys do. Discovered you during the Iron Cowboy Conquer 100.
Nice.
I'm aware of you that way. I knew of a number of the modalities you guys offer, but not your particular group. But before I kind of get long on that, maybe just explain what is Elevé and the mission of the company.
Sure. So Elevé Health, we came up with the name because, again, we wanted to get people to think about doing more with their personal health, whether it was a professional person or the average person walking down the street. So we came up with that name, and our CEO got interested in the health subject because he has some health challenges. And he had been given an opportunity by actually a relative of his that was working with some gentlemen that were working with hyperbaric oxygen therapy.
Okay.
And his was actually his cousin. And he said, you know what, you might want to look into this. So a handful of us flew out to Florida, met a gentleman, and began learning about alternative healing tools, hyperbaric oxygen being the initial one. And what we decided was we learned about it. Our CEO, Carlos Mendez, asked me to look into this, essentially because I'm kind of a health nut. I'm the guy that, exercises, eats. I just turned 64 and people never guess my age. So it's a good model to talk about health because people listen to me because I'm doing pretty good, right?
Right.
So I said, yeah, let's study this. So I started studying it and I just got into it, like really got into it and learned about things that I didn't know anything about. And so what we decided was, yeah, we're going to do this. And as we've been growing, we want to basically take the message of healing through alternative means, because that's the type of tools we work with, and get that message to the masses, everybody, because everybody needs some assistance one way or the other. We began with professionals because they are influencers. People know professional athletes. So we felt if we could get the word out to them and get them to start to take advantage, they could promote on their social media platforms and they could help us grow our brand. And that's what we've been doing very successfully. We have a team that's dedicated to just communicating with these professional athletes. And that group of athletes continues to grow every day. So it's very exciting, very exciting. Yeah.
Well, and I think the important thing too about the influencer group of professional athletes is that they rely on their body for their profession. And so, we all do to an extent, right? But not as to the degree. So if they're finding value in the things that you all do, then it's definitely going to approach or support, I'll call it the corporate athlete, which many of us are.
Absolutely. I mean, the story I love to tell is because we work with professional athletes, we get to go to events that are put on for them. And we just came back from an event in Las Vegas. It was called the NFL Symposium. And it was about 100 NFL players, usually folks that were more in the beginning part of their career. And what we proposed to them as we introduced them to some of these things that many of them had not known of, we said, look, if we could get another year or 2 years of playing time for you, what would that be worth? Now, these people make a lot of money. I mean, in the millions of dollars per season. So you could see the light bulb go on in their eyes. It's like, wow, if I got another year or 2 years of pay, I would really enhance my future life because that would be, maybe a couple of more $1 million to work with. And so that approach, we take it to the individual walking down the street. What type of quality of life do you want going into your 50s, your 60s, your 70s? Because the sad reality is most people go into our latter years sick and getting sicker, and the fragility is a big part of it. And so we have tools that can help slow down that process and maybe keep you at a level that's going to be pretty good in terms of a quality of life.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's and to the corporate athlete piece is we all sit often, whether it's commuting and you sit sedentary for 10, 12 hours a day.
Yes.
And, not only the functional issues, from a muscular standpoint, sitting all day, getting the hip and the hamstring weaknesses, but which I see now as, I'm getting a little older, my parents are, and seeing people move and seeing them, some folks having a challenge getting out of a chair. Well, that's that functional movement, and being able to maintain that, is certainly critical. And to your point,
absolutely.
You're in your 60s, but you certainly don't look like it. And it doesn't sound like you function like it either, or at least the stereotype.
I do not. And I have plenty of friends that are my age, and I can see the difference between, how they're living their life and the conditions that they're in versus me. I do exercise regularly. I eat very specifically. I get my sleep. I take my supplements. I do all those things that can help enhance, my quality of life. But at the end of the day, I always tell people, well, if you haven't been doing it, that's okay. Let's start.
Yeah.
Let's begin. I've been a personal trainer for years, and I have spoken to a lot of people, trained a lot of people, helped a lot of people. And it's always, well, let's not worry about what you did that's behind you. Let's talk about today and tomorrow. And if you grab a hold of that and you master that, really, I think miracles are possible. But you got to buy into it, and you got to put in the consistency.
Yeah,
it's possible.
What's that old saying? The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago or today. So, you just got to stick with it and have that patient persistence. Yeah. So Elevé, you mentioned one of the alternative healing practices, and I'm a little bit familiar with a number of them that you offer, but you mentioned HBOT or hyperbaric oxygen.
Sure.
So maybe explain, high level, what that is and the value of that type of modality.
Sure. Hyperbaric oxygen therapy is probably overall our best tool. And it's because what it does is it gives the body more oxygen to work with. Now, the most important nutrient in life is oxygen. Without it, we don't last much more than a few minutes. So it's arguably the most important thing that we're going to take in as a nutrient. And oxygen also contributes to the amount of energy that you have to work with. Oxygen combines with the food, and that's where we get our metabolism at the cellular level. But hyperbaric oxygen, simply put, when you get inside of a chamber and we pressurize the chamber, what happens is the oxygen that you're breathing, just in a basic, a low pressure chamber, the oxygen that you're breathing, it saturates your blood almost immediately, because we walk around pretty saturated at the oxygen level. But what happens is that additional oxygen gets forced into the liquids of the body, the plasma primarily. Okay. And when you get that additional oxygen into the plasma of the body, that plasma, because it's a liquid, goes everywhere in the body. And so it can get beyond blockages due to disease, illness, tissue damage, and the body is intelligent. It will take that oxygen and put it to use where it needs to be. You need additional help. And that's the beauty of HBOT. And whether it's something neurological, whether it's something in the cardiovascular system, in any of your organ systems, circulation, the entire body will benefit, but that extra oxygen will be put to use. And the more you do it, the more you have of that benefit. And we've seen miracles, with hyperbaric oxygen. I love to tell the story of Joe Namath. Joe Namath, famous football player.
Yeah.
He literally felt like he was losing his mind and he was just dying. He felt so terrible because of years of playing in the league, multiple concussions. Yeah. He had some significant brain trauma. He went to professionals. He had his brain scanned. He had damage. And part of his regimen, a huge part of his regimen, was hyperbaric oxygen. And Joe Namath came all the way back. He was basically, his life was saved, and he became normal and functional again. Wow. All through HBOT. And I love to tell that story because people know who he is, and it's a real story.
Yeah, I had heard too. Yeah, he had really bad TBI, or
Oh yeah, he had 5 concussions that were recorded. But in those days, in the 60s and in college, he had more than 5 concussions. I guarantee you. That guy used to get hammered the way he played. And it was killing him. And he's come all the way back.
That's an amazing story, especially kind of related to your earlier point on the NFL symposium, and seeing so many examples within football, whether it's NFL or college or even youth, that kind of circumstance occurring. And when it's not supported, you have unfortunate examples like a junior Seau, where it can cause serious mental challenges.
Ended his life because of the consequences of what he was going through, and he didn't get the right help, and that's a shame. That's why we love working with the NFL, because all of these professionals can benefit from hyperbaric oxygen along with our other tools. But for the brain, that oxygen in the brain, just healing tissue and giving tissue life again. It's huge, because it's inflammation is what's going wrong in the brain, whether it's Parkinson's, whether it's Alzheimer's, whether it's TBI. It's a very similar situation. So if you can get more oxygen, you're going to reduce inflammation, and you're going to improve circulation, and you're going to rebuild brain tissue, which it is possible. They're doing it.
And that's been an area of misunderstanding, that you can't regain or reclaim your mental faculties, that, once it's lost, it's gone. And you're seeing more and more that things like HBOT actually can help reverse that and reclaim it.
Absolutely. Do you know Dr. Amen of the Amen Clinic?
Yes.
You know of him?
Yes, I'm aware.
He was part of that big NFL study where they did the SPECT scans for the brain. And he has story after story after story of success with brain-related issues, and how his therapies, which includes hyperbaric oxygen, are basically saving people's lives.
That's amazing.
So it's real, and we're convinced. So we're trying to get the message out to the world, and very excited about that opportunity.
Yeah. So is it with practitioners, or do you have to be skilled in understanding how to utilize the machine, because you're talking about pressurized air and things of that nature?
There's different levels depending on what you're trying to accomplish. There's different machines. Like there are machines that you'll see in a hospital setting. These are generally the higher pressure systems that are pumping pure oxygen into the tank. Safety protocol is much more critical. So that's why you'll see it in a hospital, oftentimes in the basement, because this type of setup is, there's some elements that you want to protect yourself from.
Okay.
Whereas you can take the soft-sided chambers, the chambers that we work a lot with, where you can put these in your home, and they essentially use just the ambient air that you're breathing inside the chamber, or we can assist with a supplemental oxygen through an oxygen concentrator to give you a little more oxygen while you're going through the experience. But in terms of that particular technology, I could show somebody in an hour how to use a chamber safely. Okay. Yeah, safely. If it was a higher pressure chamber, maybe a little more involved teaching and protocols and safety procedures, but it's a very user-friendly type of therapy. Okay. And when you have a couple of safety issues handled up front, it's non-invasive, really. It's invasive. Yeah.
Yeah. Everything I've seen is people are either taking naps or reading books, and just another opportunity to recover from just settling down from.
Absolutely. We have one here that's a sit-up chamber. We have a desk and a chair in it. And I work out of there. I'll go in there and I'll take my laptop, and I've worked out of there, and I get hyperbaric oxygen. In fact, I've got to start doing that again. We remodeled our room a little bit, but hopefully we can get that back going.
Yeah, I may have to do that for my home office.
I'm telling you, it's a real benefit.
Yeah,
real benefit.
So what are some of the other modalities that you guys work with?
Sure. Well, what I can do is talk a little bit about each of them, but what I do want to point out to you is the term energy medicine. This is something that is I think, an all-encompassing term. And all of our devices contribute to the energy equation in one way or another. But the body is constantly using energy and it's constantly producing energy. So there's an equilibrium there. Homeostasis is the technical term. And you got to have an equal balance between producing and using energy. So when we can tip that equation in the favor of more energy, what you essentially have is more, let's say, gas in the tank to work with.
Okay.
So, for example, hyperbaric oxygen, more oxygen to work with, and that's huge. The other modalities we have, I'll touch on them briefly, and then I'll break each down a little bit for you.
Sure.
We do pulsed electromagnetic field therapy, and that is super special. And the way I describe that device, it basically charges up the body's cells, and I'll touch on that a little bit more for you. Next is our low-level light therapy or photobiomodulation. This is where we take certain frequencies of light that have been proven therapeutic, and we shine that on the skin. And that light is red, infrared, blue, green, and it goes through the skin, into the tissue, into the bone with the infrared light. And that light stimulates the powerhouses of the cell, the electrons. And when those cells are stimulated, you're again in that producing more energy mode. So again, that's what's happening. We have vibroacoustic therapy. Vibroacoustic therapy is combining sound and vibration. And what that does is it helps support your cellular functioning. Your cells are calmer, more relaxed. And when your cells are in that state, they can communicate more effectively. And when your cells communicate more effectively, you're going to have more energy. Because at the end of the day, we're made up of, 70 to 100 trillion cells. They keep adding as they discover. We don't know what the real number is, but it's trillions and trillions of cells.
Right.
And if your cells are healthy, you have a very good chance of being a healthy individual, regardless of how you got there. If you have healthy cells, you're probably going to be doing good. So the idea of energy medicine is we're going to assist the body, which is essentially the greatest healer. Our body is a miracle. There's no argument. I mean, we can cut our arm, and within days, you can watch that close and heal and disappear. It's like you didn't have anything to do with that. That's a built-in system. I say thank God, but thank nature, whatever you want to say, right?
Yep, 100%.
And so we just assist the body, the miraculous body, to heal itself. We give it a little support. And it's the same principle as getting good rest, doing good exercise, eating good food, taking good supplements. All of our tools are essentially a supplement to the life that you're living. So that's just a little touch on energy medicine. Did that make sense?
It did. And thank you for defining that.
Sure.
It's definitely helpful. And, when you start talking about energy medicine, sometimes I know I did initially before I started to really unpack it, is you can get kind of, or see woo-woo, I'll call it stuff. But sure. At the end of the day, we are designed, and it's energy. Like, we have cells are vibrating, and depending on how fast or slow they are, and there's frequencies. Yep. It's really fascinating.
Sure
stuff.
Is. Absolutely. So what I'll do is I'll share with you a little bit about each of our other modalities. Would that be helpful?
Yeah, it would. I'd definitely be really interested in that vibroacoustic.
Vibroacoustic.
Personally, yeah, that one's like
beautiful. I love talking about that one. And I'll start with that one for you.
Okay.
The vibroacoustic system combines sound and vibration through our skin and through our ears. And what we find is that the skin is the biggest sensory organ in the body. So it's a great way to deliver information to the body through the connective tissues, etc. So what happens with vibroacoustics is you'll lay on a mattress, essentially, or a bed, and we put headphones on you, and you listen to music. It's therapeutic music at certain frequencies. And those frequencies are designed to be harmonious with the naturally occurring frequencies of the earth, of the body, of our organs, of our brain waves. They're very gentle. But what happens is when you are experiencing that vibroacoustic therapy, that vibration and that sound relax and calm our cells. And when our cells are relaxed and calm, as I mentioned, they're going to communicate and function better.
Okay.
And the more you can do to get your cells communicating and functioning better, the better off you're going to be in any aspect of your physical body, period. It's just a fact. So, for example, one of the things that people describe after they've had a vibroacoustic session is they feel that if they're meditators or they've experimented with meditation, it's
right.
that deep meditative state that you get into from effective meditation. And for those of us that have done a little bit with this, the goal of getting into that deep meditative state is it's so good for the body. The body calms, the body heals, the cells are in a state of harmonious vibration. You use the word vibration. We're vibrating creatures. And that combination of the music, which is specific, we can set the music to be stimulating, relaxing, healing, enlightening, all sorts of different things. But what ends up happening is things like clarity, concentration, creativity, they are all enhanced. So a lot of people who I've met or talked to about this, they're all of an artistic nature because they understand the benefit of getting that mind and getting that cellular environment in a good state. And what ends up happening is other benefits come from that state.
Yeah.
And we can be sharper, we can be clearer, we can be more focused. It's a great tool. Now, the other benefit of vibroacoustics, and we combine it with PEMF, post-electromagnetic field therapy, and I'll talk about that in next. But what happens is we love to get anybody on the vibroacoustic bed because we've seen professional athletes who struggle with resting enough as it is already. My favorite story is John Jones, the MMA fighter, considered maybe the GOAT of MMA. We went to his home in New Mexico, and we discovered that he had an interest in working with us, maybe being an ambassador for us. And so we took a chamber, we took the vibroacoustic and PEMF to his home, and we set him up in his master bedroom. And this is a guy that does not sleep. He told us straight up, he does not sleep. And as we were talking to him, we said, well, our vibroacoustic system puts just about everybody sound asleep. He goes, nah. Okay, so we set it up. We put him on the thing, and he was snoring within minutes. He was snoring, and it was beautiful. His wife was around the corner. She's going, oh, my God. She couldn't believe it, right?
Yeah.
So he runs his 20-minute session. We turn it off. We tap him on the shoulder to wake him up, and he pops up, and he goes, I want one. Just like that. And so, and since then, I mean, we see person after person after person fall asleep. I had this gentleman from New York a couple of days ago here in the office. They came out and stopped over just to see us because they were so interested. He's this big bodybuilder guy. He gets on it. I tell him what's going to happen. He goes, yeah, whatever. Sound asleep, snoring. I run him the session. I tap him on the shoulder. Wow, this is awesome. This is the best I've ever experienced. So we are very excited about the vibroacoustics. Now we combine it with PEMF because it's a nice dual system. We have a mat system. So we basically lay the PEMF mat on the vibroacoustic bed. And I can tell you about that also. Did you have any questions about vibroacoustics? I kind of got carried away there.
No, that's not carried away. That's perfect. I mean, great story. And I just think it's interesting that two people that have sleep issues who went on this and they were out cold in minutes.
I know. I think it's a miracle personally. We love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the PEMF, post-electromagnetic field therapy, this is a real special device. And I always like to mention that outside on the earth, we have these naturally occurring pulsing electromagnetic fields. They're all over. Without them, life would not exist on the planet. I won't get into the technical aspects, but literally the NASA and the Russian space program, for example, they would interview their astronauts coming back from outer space, and they would describe a feeling of losing their mind, their bodies falling apart. They felt terrible. And
Wow.
so what the scientists discovered was it was because they were away of the Earth's electromagnetic fields.
Mm-hmm.
So what they did is they created PEMF generators. They put them on the spacecraft. They're on the space stations. And it helped eliminate that horrible feeling that these astronauts were going through. And it's part of the space programs going forward. So
wow.
the gentleman that invented that, or the gentlemen that invented that, we had the opportunity of learning about one of their products. And it's a simple mat system that has a controller. It has a small concentrated pillow and then a large mat you can lay on.
Mm-hmm.
And we discovered the benefits of low intensity pulsing electromagnetic fields. And we essentially brought the devices here, and we started to market them right after we started to market the hyperbaric oxygen chambers.
Okay.
And what we have found is that because this is a low intensity system, it is very, very in line with how our bodies operate, the energy that our bodies give off, the energies that are naturally exist outside on the planet. And so what ends up happening is when you're exposed to these electromagnetic fields, the body recognizes them as familiar and thus beneficial. So it's a gentle approach to PEMF, because there are systems out there that are super powerful, and they will literally contract your muscles. I mean, I've been on them, and it's a whole different approach to using electromagnetic fields. We've decided to go with a lighter, what we feel is a more body-friendly system. Mm-hmm. And so what we do is we put that mattress right onto the vibroacoustic bed. So you have a dual system. You have vibroacoustic therapy and you have pulsing electromagnetic field therapy. We call it vibroacoustics. And it's one of our favorite packages to market. We actually add some, the next therapy I'll talk about, which is our low-level light therapy. But we have a nice package that combines all three of those things. And the other thing that I like to mention about PEMF is, again, we're made up of trillions of cells. And one of the things that's very important to understand is that our bodies have a cellular charge. And when your cellular charge is high, like in youth, you're very impervious to disease and illness. Your body is much stronger to fight off the things that we have to deal with. As you age, that cellular charge diminishes. Mm-hmm. And if you measure an 8-year-old versus an 80-year-old, because there's devices to measure this sort of thing, you will see the 80-year-old cellular charge is much lower than the 8-year-old. So what I tell people is our PEMF system is a cell charger. It will charge your body's cells. And when you have highly charged cells, you're going to be healthy. It's just a fact. We can also set our device from an intense setting to a relaxing setting. So a lot of people that have these devices, they put them into their beds. They put them like right underneath the mattress topper, for example. Yeah. And you could end your day with a relax session, and you can begin your day with a stimulating session. And it does do this. I mean, I play basketball a couple times a week. And just last week, I was feeling a little low energy. I was feeling a little tired. And before I went to meet the guys in the court, I did a high intensity session, my highest settings that I have on the device. Okay. And I played one of the best games, 3 games actually, that I've played in months. And I've forgotten about using it to stimulate myself to get that little extra charge. Yeah. So helps you sleep, helps relax the body. Just a super device, and one of our more affordable devices as well.
Yeah, and I'm somewhat familiar with PEMF. I've got an at-home pad by a group called Beamer.
Sure, I know Beamer.
So we've got one of those at home, and I've used it, and I could, it's again, like you were saying, it's patient persistence. Like you got to use it regularly. And it's kind of the same idea. It's kind of low level, consistent, and you just gradually build up. And when I stopped doing it and then started up again, I could see the difference in level.
Yeah, it's something that you want to do on a regular basis. That's why it's a great idea to put it into your bed. If you can set it up that way,
sure.
Because the benefits on a regular basis are really superior. You did mention me about remind me of one thing. Electrosmog is an issue out there in the world. The bad electromagnetic fields, the things that we get from our electronic devices, our computers, our phones, cell towers, all the electronics are giving that off all day. And so our bodies are bombarded with that. One of the real unique benefits of our system versus just about any system that's out there is the electromagnetic fields that we put out when the machine is on are virtually negligible. You don't get bombarded with any bad EMFs. In fact,
so it's blocking the bad EMF.
Well, it's not putting out any bad EMF. It's not putting any out. It is clearing the cells of electrosmog that they already have. Walking around during the day, we all collect electrosmog. And what that does is it causes the cells to lose communication. And when the cells don't communicate effectively, they don't function as well. They don't last as long. They're not as highly charged as they could be. So our system not only does not put out electrosmog when in use, but it clears the body of electrosmog. So I always tell families, look, if you're considering something here, you have children, all your children have devices in front of them all day long.
Yeah.
All day long. Help your family clear that electrosmog just by simply, doing a 10, 15-minute session once a day, every day, because you're bathed in electrosmog all day long at school, at work, in your home. It's everywhere.
In your car.
So it's a great tool for that and ideal for a family to benefit from because everybody in the family can use it and it's real simple to use.
Well, and it's an interesting term. I'd not heard this before, but it makes perfect sense. And I knew exactly what you meant, which is electrosmog. I've not heard that term before, but it clearly makes sense. I'm familiar with EMF and the negative waves and all that, but not that terminology, but that summarizes it very well.
Good. I'm glad. And then the other thing we could talk about is our light therapy. And low-level light therapy, photobiomodulation is another term for it. But what this is doing is it's recognizing that we need light to survive and thrive on the earth. And most of us are indoor creatures nowadays. We spend most of our days indoors. We're not out in the sun. And so there are certain wavelengths of light that have been discovered as therapeutic. Like, for example, too much UV light is damaging to the skin.
Right.
But certain wavelengths of infrared, red, near infrared, they have therapeutic value. So what we've done is we've harnessed some of those frequencies of light. Now our devices come in the form of either a light bed, which you can get into, similar to like a sun tanning bed, which will give the total body a treatment of light therapy, or we have wearable light pads that you can put on specific areas of the body to treat injuries, to help repair after surgeries, things like that. So we have the combination of the two delivery systems. But the beauty of light therapy is what ends up happening is that light penetrates the skin. It gets to the bone and tendons and ligaments. And what it will do is it will stimulate the powerhouse of the cell, the electrons of the cell. The mitochondria of the cell is the word. And when you have that powerhouse being stimulated, the cell responds with more production of energy. You also get better transfer of nutrients into the cells, waste out of the cells. PEMF also does a tremendous job of that too. And that's important because when your cells are pulling in nutrients, they're healthy cells, they're functioning cells. When they're getting rid of waste, same thing. You've got to get the nutrients, but you also have to eliminate the waste. Light therapy is a great tool for that. It literally helps create that transfer across the cell's membrane to get things in and to get things out. The other thing that's really special about light therapy is it helps collagen production. And stimulating collagen production is, it's tremendous for our skin, obviously, but also our connective tissue, tendons, ligaments, all of those things. They are made out of collagen. It's the biggest protein in the body.
Right.
And so light therapy helps stimulate production of collagen. And, I tell people, if you go to a skincare facility, almost all those people that do skincare have some sort of light therapy devices, whether it's a small handheld or something they could put somebody underneath. But light therapy is definitely an exciting tool. The other thing that I like to talk about with light therapy is nitric oxide production. And nitric oxide is a super molecule. They only discovered it about 20 years ago or so. And what it does is it helps relax and dilate our blood vessels. And when that happens, your circulation is improved, blood flow increases. And what's cool about all our devices, to be honest with you, they all contribute to blood flow and circulation. And when we have good blood flow and circulation, I mean, I could go on and on about the list of benefits that I won't get into the details, but
let's just say there's a lot of illness that would be suppressed or eliminated.
Absolutely. And all our devices, from HBOT to vibroacoustics and everything else, they stimulate blood flow and circulation. And if that was the only benefit from these things, it'd be a huge benefit to take advantage of, a huge benefit. But nitric oxide, it's really cool. They're discovering it for athletics. There's different breathing techniques that you can use to get more nitric oxide production. But with our device, you just let that light shine into you, and it helps stimulate the release of nitric oxide. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is cool. And you mentioned it earlier, kind of layering the modalities, and it's just another opportunity too. What I like about some of these is helping you slow down. You were talking about earlier with the Electro Smog and the devices, and like we get so kind of spun up and talking about cellular movement. I feel like it's just these frantic motions, right? You get very squirrely.
Absolutely. We have a fast-paced world. Everything's go, 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 do more, do more. But when you understand that we're made up of a bunch of cells, and if you can get those cells calmed down, or you can get those cells using nutrients better, your whole life is going to improve. Also, for performance, we can also stimulate your cells with our tools. And there's a need for that too.
Yeah.
So we can get it from both sides, and it's just a matter of, what somebody is trying to accomplish. And we feel we can cover a lot of ground with our tools.
Yeah. And I think it's pretty interesting too. You mentioned earlier with the light, where it helps with the full process of our body to be able to, one, clear out the gunk, but also absorb the nutrients. And I think that's an important piece, because so many people don't realize that they're kind of blocked up.
Yeah.
Because they're doing all the quote unquote right things, but they're not getting healthy, whatever that is for that individual, whether it's losing weight or gaining the muscle they're looking for, or just feeling better. There's something deep in the system there's blockage somewhere.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And blockages turn into disease. And so what we want people to understand is that you can do some things with some of these tools. They can help your body just function better. And when your body functions better, everything works better in your life. And the odds of you getting diagnosed down the road with something terrible, they're diminished, they're decreased, just like good exercise, good food, good sleep habits, good supplements. This is active therapy, but very easy in terms of it's a passive approach. You generally just get on or into a device and let it do its thing. And I tell people, look, you can go and work out 45 minutes, 4 or 5 times a week, which would be great for you, but you could also do a couple of sessions of HBOT or do PEMF every day, or get a light product at home and use that on a regular basis. The more things you can do to help enhance the functioning of this body, the better off you're going to be. If you're doing nothing, well, you're going to be in trouble at some point, most likely. Well,
because we all have lives that we want to meet and achieve things, not just to achieve them, but like to be there for our wives or husbands or or
Sure.
kids, like I've got 3 girls, they're getting into sports. Like, I don't
Yeah.
want to just be on the bench watching. Like, I'm going to get out there and do it.
Correct.
And you're going to need the energy for that to keep up with them.
You bet. I play basketball with my 20-year-old grandson. I have a 20-year-old grandson, and I can beat him.
Good. Take them to school, man.
So I'm telling you that what you just said is so true. And our mission here, they're part of it, is to get people to just open their minds up to they have these options, they have these opportunities, and don't just accept what you've been doing just because you've been doing it all your life. There's some things out there you might not know about. We're doing a huge campaign right now on social media, and we have a team that every day we keep getting more positive experiences because we're putting it out there, and we're trying different, modalities, whether it's YouTube, Instagram, all the different, social media platforms. But we get people responding, we get people to call us, come see us. And so we're really ramping that up right now. And it's exciting. It's exciting as a business to sell the product, but to help the people that we're helping.
Yeah.
It's a dual benefit for us.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great to be mission focused, but it's a business, but you're presenting value. So I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
So I had a question for you around, obviously you have a passion for wellness and recovery. That's what you all do at Elevé, but what's your perspective, in why, a company like Elevé is, I think, going to make a mark and is seeing some good growth already, where I think we're early, but we're at the dawn of the age of recovery. So I wanted to get your perspective as somebody who's been in the fitness and wellness space for many years, kind of that arc of recovery and why it's become, actually prominent right now.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about Joe Namath earlier and how he had 5 officially diagnosed concussions, but we laughed about it. He's had more than that. I've had concussions. I was never diagnosed, but I've been knocked out on a football field twice. So, that stuff has happened. But when I was a kid coming up, playing Pop Warner football, high school football, nobody talked about any of these things. They would literally say, shake your head and get back out there. Yeah. And so what has happened is science and technology has caught up with maybe some old-fashioned perspectives. We are now getting to the point where we do put more into the learning aspect of the human body. Just something like drinking water and having a lot of water available on the practice field in Southern California in high school football.
Yeah.
You would have a water break and you would have to wait, and you were dying out there because it's 100 degrees. We're in full gear practicing. And so they didn't know enough to have water ready, available for whenever you need to drink it, just drink it. Well, we've come full circle to the point now where they have, some of these kids drink too much water during athletic events. But what we've learned is all the other things about the body, that the idea of healthy cells are going to be the key to everything. And how do you make those cells healthy? And you probably would have to say that because athletics has become so important in our world, it's like, I don't know, as far as entertainment goes, it's right up there with movies, I guess, and television. But those athletes, because their bodies are how they make a living, they have to rely on the people who study the subject of how the body works, of how the body can repair, how quickly can we get an athlete back on the field. Yeah. And so technology has advanced, and people now, I think, are a little bit more into taking care of themselves because it's become just more acceptable. I know for myself, just because it was always a passion of mine from my teenage years to be a fit person, to be physically capable. Yeah. And I've tried all the famous diets that are out there over the years. I've tried many, many things, and I'm still tweaking my system today. Still today, I'm tweaking my system. But I think that people are open to it. My CEO, he has had a vision, and he said, nobody's doing this. There's nobody doing this. Every person that makes a piece of equipment that we use, none of them are attempting to do what we do. They just make hyperbaric chambers or make light therapy products, and they sell them to practitioners, or they sell them to maybe an individual to use at home, maybe some athletes. But nobody is saying we're going to create a worldwide brand that can service internationally. And we have people all over the world that we talk to and that we're interacting with. So I don't know where the limit of what we can do is, but right now it's huge, the vision. And my CEO is a visionary type of person. We have multiple companies here that we are building and working with. And this just happens to be one of them. And I'm lucky to be a part of it still. I do other things for the company, but because this is my passion, I'm like, yeah, whatever you need, I'm staying on it.
Yeah. Absolutely. I absolutely love it. The modalities you all do from one company is something that I became aware of, and how I got started roughly 2 years ago with the podcast was a friend of mine has a recovery lounge locally.
Okay.
It has a number of the modalities you do, red light, infrared sauna. They've got some other vibration plates and things of that nature.
Nice.
So, small boutique recovery lounge, but right up the road from me, and is a friend of mine called RXR3, and that's how I kind of discovered some of the things that you all do. I probably don't use them enough, but I'm aware, and I think that's the key, is to change hearts and minds and trying to get people
absolutely
open up about it.
Yeah, we're just looking for people to give us a few minutes to listen to something and to be open enough to it. That's why we, initially went after those professionals, because they do have a following. They do have fans and with the social media platforms that we have today, they're out there, and it's a great way to get the word out and get interest. And we are getting people to respond by going to an athlete's Instagram page and seeing them talk about our tools.
Right.
Oh, what's that? And then there's a link or a way to connect, and then they call us or they email us or something, and then we get to talk to them about it. And the other thing I wanted to mention about recovery is you were asking me why recovery has become so much of a focus. And it was because they realized that training focus only is not enough. The body has to repair. When you lift weights and you're trying to grow muscle and build tissue, you're literally tearing down the tissue to rebuild bigger and stronger.
Yeah.
Well, what are you doing to help that recovery process? Well, I'm just getting in a hot tub, or I'm getting in an ice bath, or I'm putting, heat on my body. There's a lot more you could do. And once they started to realize that there's a lot more that you can do, they started doing it. LeBron James, Tom Brady, these guys are supposed to be retired, especially Tom Brady.
Yeah.
He's playing the best ball of his life. He won the Super Bowl last year. He is a huge fan of recovery tools.
Yep. I was going to mention him. And I mean, I think we could see a 50-year-old playing in the NFL, and his name's Tom Brady.
It might happen.
I mean,
it sounds crazy.
Yeah.
But it could happen.
But it'll be interesting to see if, how much longer he goes, but he's in peak performance. It's crazy.
He was good enough to win a Super Bowl. Yep. You can't do much better than that.
That's right. So you're talking about people who are engaged. Mentioned at the beginning about Iron Cowboy and Conquer 100. How did you guys get connected with James Lawrence in supporting him during that endeavor?
Well, we found James through another contact that was aware of us. And we got connected to him through that, started communicating. Our marketing team started communicating with his team. And we discovered that there was some definite synergy in what he was doing, because he was putting his body through such strenuous task. I mean, 101 technically is what he did.
Yep.
Of those Ironmans. And they knew they had to do a good job of recovery. And we were benefiting from the right timing and the right opportunity to get him some tools. And he loves the products that we shared with him. And he was, I guess, considered the recovery part of it and our little bit that we played key to his success, because every day was tough.
Yeah.
And some of the days he thought he might not continue, and the whole 9 yards. So we benefited from just, knowing the right people, talking to the right people, and getting connected that way. And now he's an ambassador for us. We put him on a lot of our social media posting, and he does some things for us of an ambassador nature. And that's how that happened.
Yeah. Very cool story. Yeah. I mean, he seems like an amazing individual, let alone not just the accomplishment of the Conquer 100 or 101, but just from a character perspective is
yes,
pretty impressive.
He's impacting a lot of lives, and he's committed to continuing to do this through his motivational, potential.
Yeah. Yeah.
He is very motivating.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, Steve, I think what y'all are doing is pretty awesome. I'm so bullish on this kind of thing, and I try to figure out how I'm going to buy all of the devices. I'm not kidding.
Sure.
But yeah, I appreciate your time. I'd like to close things out with a couple personal questions.
Sure.
Nothing too heavy, but what are you reading right now?
Right now, I'm reading 2 books. One is The Speed of Trust by Stephen Covey Jr. And then I'm also reading Emotional Intelligence for the first time. People have been telling me to read that book for a while. So I've got the audio book of Emotional Intelligence, and I'm actually doing the physical book reading of Speed of Trust.
Okay.
And that's what I'm reading right now. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm not familiar with. Well, I'm familiar with the books, but not. I have not read those yet. Okay, so what are you listening to, be it music or podcast?
Oh my goodness, that's a long list. I mean, I'm a musician.
Oh, really?
Music constantly, but podcast. Huberman, Eric Huberman. I think it's Eric. He's got these scientific podcasts.
Yeah.
He's a PhD professor at Stanford.
Yep.
So he's the real deal. But he breaks down, relevant topics of health and wellness to the layman's ear. And I just finished one with him on motivation and directive.
Okay.
And he talked about how the brain works with dopamine and the pleasure centers and what stimulates us to do things. So I love him. I listen to a lot of political stuff as well. I like that. I like to stay on top of that. See, who else do I enjoy? There's a gentleman by the name of Paul Saladino, Dr. Paul Saladino, and he is called the Carnivore MD. And he has a certain approach to nutrition that involves eating a lot of meat. And it happens to be the way that I eat as well.
Okay.
So I love his broadcast. He's joined by Dr. Sean Baker, who has podcasts and podcasts that I follow. Dr. Ken Berry is another one. These are all MDs that have taken the approach of the carnivore style of eating. And so I listen to all these gentlemen as well. And gosh, I mean, Tom Bilyeu, I like to listen to him.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's Impact Theory or.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Impact. Yeah, I listen to him. I listen to a lot. Daily, hours, literally. I always have it on. Yeah, I'm always listening.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what is your go-to rest and recovery method?
My go-to is a session of good sleep where I get more than 8 hours, which is not as often as I'd like, but at more than 8 hours. And then my combination PEMF and vibroacoustic session, where I'll do a 30-minute session on the low setting for relax. And I'll listen to what's called a cell cleansing music.
Okay.
And I come in here off hours. I come in on the weekend because I have access to the office, and I almost always fall asleep when I'm here by myself and the lights are down. And I get off of that thing, and I almost always go do something else.
Awesome.
I feel so good afterwards. Yeah,
that's great. So that just made me think. So you guys sell devices to practitioners. Do you have like a network or a list of practitioners where people can locate based on where they are geographically?
We don't have anything necessarily published like that at this point. So we don't have that, no.
Okay. Okay.
I mean, we could connect you with some practitioners if somebody needed, you know, maybe some a different perspective or a professional's perspective. We have people on our team that we can refer people to.
Okay.
But it's something published where you could say like, no, nothing like that right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, again, thank you so much for what you all are doing. I think you're really at the beginning of, you know, some transformation. I think that's really going to help folks live this life better. And we only get one of them. So I really think it's important.
I agree. Take care of it.
Well, Steve, thank you, sir. Appreciate you.
All right, Scott. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your day.
You too.